Hello everyone, welcome to this video series in which we were going to explore the map properties in very much detail. I'm going to go for each map. I'm going to go uh, very basic properties and then I'm going to detail in the same video. So if you have watched one, you might be you want to skip a few parts for the others. Okay, so let's get started. As you all know, the Qlik has very much detailed mapping capabilities. So there are multiple layers. So the first thing we're going to look into is the map layer. If you are interested in other details, I have another video which says that what exactly Qlik map can do for you. So for now, we're gonna stick to this point layer. So in this video, I have this data where I have cities, city codes, region, etc. So let's see what we can do with Qlik. I'm just gonna let's just drag the city code here and click auto mapping, auto chart capability, creates a map chart. I'm gonna turn off the suggestions and then gonna go to the city layer. And if you see in my data, this is city layer and I have a location, and location is also city. So which necessarily indicate that Qlik automatically identify that city is a geographic field and it should be plotted where it should be plotted, etc. So I don't need to put any, I haven't put and used any longitude or latitude for now. Okay. So let's just see the data, how Qlik has plotted that. So it seems like fine, it has plotted that. But if I look at closely, so I have this city St. Joe's, and if I click on that, it's actually in US, but here in my data, it is showing me somewhere in South America, in Paraguay or somewhere. There is another city. So at time it can happen. Then there are multiple cities with the same name. So we have so we can fix this particular thing. So just look at this particular data. So we have a scope for location capability. If we just click in here and go to the custom scope, I can define that it's country. So sometimes there is, it can uh, mix up countries and cities. So we can define that our data, what our data is actually, and then we can define that which country we have. So if we see in our case, we have a lot of data. Okay, so by a lot of data, I mean that a lot of cities, a lot of countries. So we cannot specify a country. And if you see it has written in how we want, how you can write. So if I write US, it will gonna work, but it's gonna show only US cities. So let's just do that and just click somewhere outside to take into effect. And you see, I just have the US city. Yes, this St. Joe's part has been resolved, but I do not see other countries. So I can choose a dynamic field here. So I have, if you see, if I closely observe my data, I have regions USA and with the country names. So I'm gonna select the region here, and I see the this has now been fixed with other with along with the others. But still, if I select the Nordic region from here, I do not see anything because Nordic is not a country. It's actually combination of multiple countries. So it hasn't recognized. And this is another. I wanted to show it to you that if you have custom kind of region naming which is not recognized by Qlik, so you might face these kind of an issue. So what we can do is, luckily in our data set, if you closely see our data, we have at the end of description of each city, we have the last two letters are their ISO 2 code for their country. So we can leverage that particular thing. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna create a custom field run on runtime here. I'm gonna say write to fields of description, and let's see what happens now. Here I go. I have Nordic region done as well. And if I just clear this particular data, and I have now everything sorted. So it's nice and easy way to get that done. I created this field on the runtime. You can do that by using master dimension, or you create the data from the background, like in here as well, like here. Okay. Another way to create points layer is using the longitude and latitude field. So I can just say that, okay, I tell him that I'm gonna use longitude and latitude, and I do have a longitude and latitude, and so I'm just gonna refer that. And if you see, the scope vanishes because in longitude and latitude we directly know exactly what point it is, so we do not need any scope or any limitation on this side. Okay, so this is second way. So then there is a third way, that if rather than longitude and latitude we have exactly the point. Okay, so in Qlik we can create a point. So I do not have the point, but I can make it like geo make point. This is a function which creates point from a longitude and latitude in Qlik. So I just reload the data again after adding this particular point layer, and now I come in here and I say that use this point. Okay, so it's created, and if you see in data, it's again city. And so if I just hover that, it will always show the value which is there in this particular dimension point. And I can customize that as well if I like. I can do that. Okay, so now we have covered two parts. So we have covered custom scope location, we have covered longitude, latitude, we have seen how we can different work with different points. Then come the shape and size. So we can control the size of the bubble, how much the bubble size should be, and we can also control which kind of a bubble or pointer it should be. It can be a rectangular, it can be a hexagonal or pentagonal. So let's say if we just select triangle, so it's just we have triangles here. I have this size by thing, I will come to that later in a while. And we also have the option for custom image or image from a URL. So the URL one requires separate settings on the if you are a cloud, it requires certain settings on the infrastructure side. Also, if you are on your server, it might require some additional URLs to be allowed on your server. So I'm not going to go into that details. Let's just select the image library and see what we can do. So I have these images in my application. So I just have the cities, that hospitals one. If you see, here we go, I have the cities, and if I increase the image size, so I can see them better, icons. So for now I'm gonna stick with the bubble one, and now I'm gonna go and I can size that by some measure as well. So right now I don't have any measure exact here. So what I'm gonna do is I have some prepared some dummy data where I have city-wise sales and number of customers. So I'm gonna include them in my data set by just reloading the data. I have this script already written, so to make sure we save some time. So here we go, and now I have this field sales, and I'm gonna say sum of sales. Here we go. So you see the different markers appeared with the size, and if you see now I have a range for the bubble. Previously it was just one bubble size. Now I have a range because I have selected size by. And if I hold mouse over here, so you see it says sum of sales in the city name, etc. So if I want to make rather than sum of sales, I say just sales, I can have that, and I can change the number format that appears on the mouse over. And let's just change this minimum size. So we say that the minimum size is very small, so we want to increase that. So it basically take auto effect from range. You see my lowest level from this to this, it has automatically, if you see, there is a legend layer around here as well. But I can customize my range as well. So I says that minimum value to maximum value. So my data, as you can see, it's 999 from 5,000. So I say it start from 500,000 to, and anything above 900,000 is same for me. So I don't care. So I say the minimum size is this. So I say the countries, the cities where is more the sale is more than 900,000, they are exactly the same. So I can do this custom range thing as well. Okay. So the next thing is we're gonna do is the color part. So by default, it's a normally you will see this auto color, and we can control the opacity. Okay, so the opacity means that we can see that there are layers beneath this is as well. So for now I'm gonna go for the custom color, and in this single color we, like all the other color properties in any chart, we have four options: dimension, single color, measure, and expression. So I'm gonna go by measure, and in measure I'm gonna select number of customers. So I'm gonna say, because it's all the customers, so I'm gonna say sum of customers. And similarly I can define the custom color range, etc. Opacity is still there, so I'm gonna stick with this, and I'm gonna say, call it number of customers. Here we go. And then we can select the number format, and we can select the coloring as well. Okay, so and I'm gonna change the opacity, and we can change the line side as well, that if you want to do any line side, and if you do not want to have any line around, you can just change the opacity so that there is no line. Okay, so that's about the coloring. So it's very much simple, as we have the others color properties in other charts, so we can just use that. If you are more interested, you can just have a detailed look at the videos how we can change the colors properties of any chart. Okay, then the sorting. In map, it doesn't make much sense to have sorting because there are points and they are on each geolocation. But at times it does. For example, in our case, so there is a point behind this. If I just zoom in this particular area, so you see there is a point which this particular point get behind when we have too much data. So this just uh, hidden against this point. So we can use the sorting property to make more use of this particular, to see the points more clearly and visibly. So let's just say sort by expression. And okay, so and this, it's interesting that when we say sorting in here, means that which point will be plotted at first and which point will be plotted after. So the point which get plotted after, it will be on top. So we have to sort here by descending, so that the smaller points appear on top. And I say that sum of sales, I know this one, and if you don't know, you can just write the expression, go in here and write expression, and you see now I have this point on top here. Okay, and then we have the options for the layers. So I'm just gonna click edit. Before I go there, I can see I have some details. I can see blah blah blah, etc. Okay, then we have the layer properties. So by default I have these legends, so I can just control these legends if I want to see the legends, or if I want to make the legends very small or large. That is just up to me how I want to use that, or I can do that auto. Okay, so I will keep that in auto, and I can also see size legend. I can turn them off and on and off from here, the size legend. Then I can hide the tooltip. By default I see this tooltip, but if I hide this one, so I do not see when I hover the mouse. I do not see. It can be a different uses when you do not want to, just want to point that you do not want it to be interactive or something like that. So there is another cool trick is here as well. So by default, if I click on any point, it gets selected. This is Qlik's default behavior. This associated behavior, everything gets selected whenever I go to the point. But we can disable this particular thing just by clicking here. And now if I try to select anything, I cannot select. You see, I cannot select regardless where I click, I cannot select. So this is the disable selection. And then there is a label. So the label, the point should start showing those labels of where their data is. So if I turn them on, so you see I have this every city has its label, and I can play now. Once we have that, I can customize the labels as well. It's not necessarily that I have just the dimension labels. I can show here something different here as well. And I can control the position of the labels, and I can control the font size. I want to make it smaller or better, and also the colors of the font size so that it's a little different from the background layer. So normally we do not do that. We advise not to do that. If you want to do that, we need to change the properties. We need to change the background layer so that it's visible. Because if you see it now, it's not that much visible. If I need to do that, I might go for a different kind of font. So let's say I'm gonna go for blue one, so that it's visibly different from the others, and I can see that it's a label. It's not the background layer. Okay, and then that's another thing as well. So by default, when I turn that on, and this is this is not good. This is just a mumbo jumbo. So what I can do is I can control that at what zoom level I should see these fonts. Okay, so I say that it's custom and only show when the zoom level is above below let's say 5. So let's see what happens here. So it doesn't show here. Zoom, 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 zoom. Okay, so at this point, when it does make sense, I can see the labels. So I can control when to show the labels based on how much zoomed in I am. So, and it can also depend on your data. For example, if you're sitting looking at your stores data which are very close by, so you might want to set this particular zoom level a little lower. Okay, so I'm just gonna enable the selection again, and then I can just completely turn off the layer. So why this, create, if you don't want to show the layer, why create it in the first place? So that's very interesting question. So the answer to that is essentially we have this show layer property. We can do switch that in our exploration menu during the analysis mode. So I can turn that on and off. So maybe by default, if you want to turn that by default, you want to turn that off. Okay, let me just refresh the data. There is some thing stick in the background. So when I turn off my, what I can do is by default in my properties, the default property, I say that for this particular layer, that it should not show. And when I go to my exploration menu, and I can turn that on and off. So it might be, I have multiple layers, so I want to turn that on and off based on my assumptions and on settings. Okay. Okay, then we have a different options for the map in this when we are doing this analysis. So let's say if we want to have the legends, we have it better equipped, so we can have English. So there are zoom levels. So we can also control the legends here as well, and labels. So if we have turned on the labels, so we will see this label coloring option here as well. Okay, so if I zoom in, so that was what I was referring to. So now this is a little more uh, legible, and it makes sense for us. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next part. So oops, I think I zoomed in this window. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the other properties. So in the shale, we can exclude auto zoom. So for example, this will be when we select certain thing, it auto zoom itself. So if we exclude that, so selection would not zoom in. For example, no, I have enabled the selection. So if I click in here, it comes, I don't see where I am actually. So we might want to exclude auto zooming. So if I have excluded that now, and if I do the selection now, the same city, it's just select that, and but doesn't zoom in automatically. So this particular option helps us to control our zoom layer what we want. Okay, and then okay, in general I have not gone through one properties which is called maximum visible objects. So the maximum visible object by default they are set to 4,000. In our case, we have just 100 objects, 100 points. But in case we have a lot of 50,000, 60,000 points, I have some data sets. So we can change that. So just make sure that you change this default limit. But it's advisable not to have more than 10,000 points, because if there is more than 10,000 points, it becomes very slow. So you can control that by different other methods as well. We will see the multiple layering options, etc. We can do that by we can do control this thing. So I'm gonna do this thing in this video. I'm just gonna cover that as well. Okay, so let's do that actually. So I have another data set which essentially has the stores with their longitude and latitude, and I have made their point as well, calling them store location. So I'm just gonna load this particular data in, and now I'm gonna showcase another property that we can create multiple layers regardless. So by default, Qlik does not have any limitation on number of layers that you can add and Qlik map chart. So let's see how we can do that, how we can add the multiple layers. So okay, we have the data in here. In this data, we do not have any association. That is fine, no issue with that. So let's just edit the properties, and I just go in here, the main properties, I add a layer, I say add another point layer, and this time around it's going to be store location. So it's going to add another layer, and if you see, I just have this right, it's kind of some part of the US. So these stores are just for the US, but they are for all the US. But if we see my current data, it's not covered all the US. So let's just select in our data, we just select the US part as well, so that we can see this one part. And now I actually see just 4,000 points. Actually, in my data of this particular area, I have around 14,000 points. So let's just go in here in the options, and from in this visible layer, I put in 15,000 points, and let's see what happens. Okay, you see, now I have all over the US. So it was limited because of the data, and it takes a little time to get that thing done. So what I can do is I can control the zoom level, that this layer should only be shown unless until I'm at level zoom 4. Okay, so so we are already at level 4, so let's just go one at zoom level 6. Okay, and now if I select any city, okay, so we have excluded this one from auto zoom. So no, we haven't included that. So by default, it should go in. So if I go in, I zoom in further, you see, I see all these layers. So I start seeing this layer when I am at certain zoom level. So by this way, you can control your multiple layers. And if you see in this layer, the store layer, there are in all the map layers actually, we have the calculation condition. We can, see this layer based on certain, rather than, at zoom level, we can see this layer based on certain condition. For one city is selected, then we can just see the store, all the store, the one state is selected. So we can have that in here, and then we can show that hide message. This is just like, other objects we have, and the options for hiding the object based on certain criteria, unless or those criteria are unfulfilled, that should not show up. The final part of this map layer is tooltip. So in the tooltip, we have the basic tooltip. So tooltip is like the hover, mouse over, what should we see when we hover the mouse. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disable this layer, and I'm just gonna go for the map layer. Okay, so let's just deselect this one, and okay, now let's just focus on the properties for the tooltip. So I say that basic or custom. So if I hit custom, I see a lot of properties here as well. So by default, it shows the basic properties, but I can add a lot of custom properties here as well. For example, I can add a title like a city, or I say it has to be a field, so I say it's a city field. And let's say rather than the city, I add description here. And if we go in here now, I have on my mouse, you see I have a very detailed all the description that we have in here. And we can add measures here as well. We can add images, we can add charts. So we have a lot of option, and also in image here we can add a URL as well. So for example, we are looking at the countries, we can add their customized flags, or we can have different product or different stores, they have their own logos, so we can add this dynamic logos as well. And we can add the custom chart as well if we have that in master item. So for the tooltip, I have a very detailed video covering the tooltip. I will share the link in the video description. So if you want to have a detailed look at what you can do with the tooltip, that's complete very at length topic, 10 to 15 minutes topic. So I have covered that in a separate video. Thank you very much for watching this video.